If you're watching from anywhere in the world right now, comment your country and the time you're watching from. Like this video, subscribe, and share because tonight's chaos? Oh, it gets worse. The elevator doors burst open so violently that two employees almost dropped their laptops. Move! Tasha yelled, sprinting out of the elevator holding 3 iced coffees, her oversized blazer half falling off one shoulder. An intern gasped. She's late. I know I'm late, Tasha shouted while running. My alarm betrayed me spiritually. Behind her, Jiyoon walked out of the elevator, much calmer. You overslept again. I was emotionally exhausted. You watched cat videos until 3 a.m. They were inspirational. Jiyoon sighed. 3 weeks. 3 weeks working at KJ Global, and somehow Tasha had already become the single most disruptive force in the building. Employees greeted her now. Not formally, emotionally. Good morning, Miss Collins. Morning, Tasha yelled while still running. If anyone asks, I've been here since sunrise. That's not believable, Jiyoon replied. Support me during my lies. They rounded the hallway corner and nearly collided with Kang Junseo. Tasha stopped so abruptly one coffee almost launched into another dimension. Oh. Junseo stood there in a black suit looking unfairly expensive at 8:30 in the morning. His gaze dropped slowly toward the coffees in her hands, then toward her shoes, then back to her face. You are 20 minutes late. Tasha straightened dramatically. Time is a social construct. It is literally measurable. Agree to disagree. Silence. Then his eyes narrowed slightly. You are wearing 2 different earrings. Tasha froze. Jiyoon immediately looked away to hide laughter. Tasha slowly touched her ears. Traitor. You also spilled coffee on your sleeve. That one happened during battle. You overslept. I was fighting for my life. You were watching cat videos. Tasha whipped around toward Jiyoon. Wow. Corporate betrayal. Jiyoon coughed politely. I believe in transparency. Junseo watched the interaction quietly. Then, a small flicker appeared near his mouth. Tasha pointed immediately. There, that thing again. I said nothing. You almost smiled. I did not. Sir, she said dramatically. Your personality is leaking. Jiyoon physically turned away because she was trying not to laugh in front of her CEO. 3 weeks ago, the entire building feared Kang Junseo like a tax audit with feelings. Now employees had witnessed him. Laugh twice. Wait for Tasha in hallways. Remember her coffee order. Slow down his walking pace for her. The building was in emotional crisis. Junseo glanced at the coffees again. You bought iced coffee in winter. Yes. That is irrational. That is joy. That is pneumonia. Your negativity is exhausting. He opened the conference room door beside him. Inside. Tasha blinked. Why do you always sound like you're summoning people to battle? Because meetings exist. That sentence alone lowered my serotonin. She walked past him into the room, then paused. The entire executive team was already seated inside. Oh no, Tasha whispered. This room smells expensive and judgmental. Min-jae looked up from his tablet immediately. Oh, good. Chaos arrived. Tasha pointed at him. Your CEO friend threatened me with time. You were late. I'm an artist. We arrive emotionally. Junseo sat at the head of the table calmly. Sit down. Tasha sat beside Min-jae and leaned toward him immediately. Why does this room feel like rich people are about to cancel somebody's existence? Because the investors are here in 20 minutes. Oh. Min-jae grinned. And the board requested you specifically. Tasha slowly turned. Why? Nobody answered immediately, which was suspicious. Very suspicious. Then one older executive cleared his throat. Well, public engagement metrics involving Miss Collins have increased company favorability by 16%. Tasha blinked. I'm sorry. Did you just say I boosted capitalism? Min-jae burst into laughter. One executive continued carefully. The public perceives the CEO as more relatable recently. Tasha slowly turned toward Junseo. Oh my god. He already looked irritated. It is irrelevant. No, she said, horrified. I accidentally domesticated your public image. It is temporary. Sir, Min-jae said cheerfully. There are literally fan accounts dedicated to your eye contact now. Jun-seo went completely still. What? Min-jae happily turned his tablet around. Tasha gasped. Oh my god. An edit played on screen. Slow motion clips. Dramatic music. Pictures of Tasha entering the building. Jun-seo looking at her. A caption reading. The robot CEO finally found love. Tasha screamed, laughing. Oh, this internet needs employment. Min-jae wheezed. There are comments analyzing your emotional growth. Jun-seo looked like he wanted to legally remove humanity. One executive cleared his throat awkwardly. Actually, that's part of the issue. The room shifted slightly. Ah, here we go. Tasha sat up straighter. What issue? The investors wish to maintain positive public momentum. Silence. Then Tasha narrowed her eyes slowly. No. Nobody spoke, which confirmed everything. She pointed dramatically around the room. Absolutely not. No. I know that silence. That silence has evil intentions. Min-jae immediately covered his mouth, laughing. One executive adjusted his glasses nervously. The board simply believes a public appearance together may stabilize media speculation. There it is, Tasha whispered. Corporate nonsense. It would improve market confidence. You people need hobbies. The executive looked exhausted already. Miss Collins. No, she interrupted. Every time rich people say public appearance, somebody loses peace. Jun-seo finally spoke. The proposal is unnecessary. Tasha blinked. That surprised her slightly. The executive frowned. Sir, with respect, the public interest is beneficial. This is not entertainment. Min-jae muttered under his breath. Debatable. Tasha kicked his chair. He grinned proudly. Another executive leaned forward carefully. The company image has softened significantly since Miss Collins became associated with you. Tasha turned slowly toward Jun-seo again. You were really terrifying before me, huh? Silence. Min-jae answered immediately. Yes. Ji-yoon nodded slightly. Also yes. Tasha gasped dramatically. Oh my god. I'm a rehabilitation program. Jun-seo rubbed his forehead. This discussion is unproductive. No, Min-jae replied happily. This discussion is healing. One executive continued. The investors are hosting a charity gala next Friday. Tasha froze. No. They specifically requested the CEO attend with Miss Collins. No. It would be strategically beneficial. No. Min-jae leaned toward her. You should go. You are not helping. I want to watch him suffer socially. Jun-seo looked flatly at him. You are deeply irritating. And yet lovable. Min-jae replied proudly. Tasha turned toward Jun-seo. Tell them no. Silence. That silence lasted too long. Her eyes widened. Sir, I am considering outcomes. That means yes in billionaire language. It means I am thinking rationally. It means my life is becoming a romantic hostage situation. Min-jae nearly fell out of his chair laughing. Then suddenly, Jun-seo looked directly at her and said quietly, You could refuse. The room paused slightly. Because his tone changed. Subtly, but enough. Not pressure. Not command. Choice. Tasha noticed immediately, which somehow made this worse. Because now she actually had to think about it. One executive quickly added, The board would highly appreciate cooperation. Tasha narrowed her eyes. That sounded like a threat with business vocabulary. Min-jae whispered. It absolutely was. She groaned loudly and dropped her head onto the table dramatically. I miss noodles and unemployment. Tasha's head was still on the table when she felt it. Silence. Not normal silence. Corporate silence. The kind that meant everyone was watching her, but pretending not to. She lifted her head slowly. Min-jae was biting his lip like he was about to explode laughing. Ji-yoon looked away immediately. Even Jun-seo didn't look away fast enough. Tasha pointed weakly. I hate all of you. Min-jae whispered. You love us financially. I do not love you financially. One executive cleared his throat again, trying to regain control of the room. So, Miss Collins, don't. We will need your confirmation for the gala invitation. Tasha straightened.
No.
The word dropped like a hammer. The room paused. Min-jae blinked. That was fast. Tasha leaned back in her chair. I have self-preservation instincts. Rare but active. Jun Seo watched her carefully. Explain your refusal. Tasha pointed at him. You didn't even say no properly. You did that I am considering outcomes thing. That's emotional manipulation in CEO language. I was being transparent. You were being dangerous. Min-jae muttered, she's right though. Jun Seo shot him a look. Min-jae raised his hands innocently. What? I'm just observing workplace democracy. Tasha crossed her arms. I'm not going to some billionaire charity gala pretending to be your what? Human marketing strategy. Silence again. That one hit differently. Even Min-jae stopped smiling. Jun Seo's expression tightened slightly. That is not your role. Tasha softened for half a second, then immediately recovered. Good. Then don't use me like one. The room went quiet. Even the air felt heavier. Ji-yoon quietly looked down at her folder. Min-jae suddenly stood up. Okay, great meeting. We've all emotionally matured today. Let's leave before someone develops feelings. Nobody moved. Min-jae slowly sat back down. Okay, wow. Still tense. One executive cleared his throat carefully. The investors expect alignment between leadership and public sentiment. Tasha sighed loudly. There it is again. Sentiment. That's just a fancy word for we want you to smile in public. Jun Seo spoke again. This is not about smiling. Then what is it about? A beat. Too long. Then, control of narrative. That answer landed heavier than the others. Tasha stared at him. That sounds like something villains say before explosions. Min-jae whispered. It kind of is. Jun Seo ignored him. The company is under scrutiny. The investors want stability. And I'm the stability? No. That surprised her. He continued. You are unpredictability. That is why they are watching you. Tasha blinked. Excuse me? Min-jae leaned forward immediately. Oh, this is getting interesting. Ji-yoon sighed softly, like she already knew where this was going. Jun Seo looked directly at Tasha. Your presence has shifted internal dynamics. I didn't ask for that. I know. That made her pause again. He didn't sound angry. Just factual. Like he was stating a problem in a report. Tasha leaned forward slightly. So, what are you saying? One executive interjected quickly. Miss Collins, your involvement has increased external attention. The investors see it as an asset. Tasha groaned. I'm a PR accident. Min-jae grinned. A chaotic asset. Jun Seo continued, voice steady. If you attend the gala, you can control how they interpret you. Tasha scoffed. I can't even control my sleep schedule. That is not relevant. It is to me. Silence again. Then Min-jae leaned toward her. Honestly, you going would be hilarious. Tasha turned slowly. I will throw you out of this building. You'd miss me. I would not. Ji-yoon quietly added. You would. Tasha gasped. Betrayal. All of you. Jun Seo stood up slightly, signaling the meeting was ending. This discussion is closed for now. Tasha immediately sat up. Oh, no, no, no. You don't get to CEO dismiss me emotionally and leave. He paused. What do you want then? She stood too. I want honesty. That made him stop fully. Min-jae went unusually quiet. Even the executives stopped shifting papers. Tasha pointed at him. Don't use me for image control. Don't sugarcoat it. If this is a business move, say it like a business move. Jun Seo held her gaze, then calmly said, It is a business move. Silence. Tasha nodded slowly. Thank you. Then grabbed her bag. And I decline. She walked toward the door. Min-jae whispered, Oh, she's mad. Ji-yoon sighed again. Jun Seo didn't move immediately. Then he said something quieter. You are making this more difficult than it needs to be. Tasha paused at the door. Didn't turn. Welcome to my personality. And she left. The door shut behind her. The room stayed still for a few seconds. Min-jae finally broke it. That was intense. One executive muttered, She's unpredictable. Ji-yoon corrected softly. She's honest. Min-jae nodded. And dangerous for corporate stability. Jun Seo said nothing. just stared at the closed door. Tasha stormed down the hallway.
Fast.
Angry. Not dramatic angry. Focused angry. The kind where she didn't even notice she passed 3 employees greeting her. Miss Collins.
She didn't respond.
She turned a corner and collided directly into someone's chest.
Hard.
A hand immediately steadied her arm. Careful. Tasha looked up. Min Jae. Of course.
He grinned.
You're doing the dramatic exit thing. I'm walking. You're storm walking. I hate you. No, you don't. She tried to step past him. He blocked her lightly. Hey.
What?
His tone softened slightly. You okay? That question caught her off guard. She exhaled.
No.
Min Jae nodded.
Yeah.
That sounded like a my life is becoming a corporate experiment situation. Tasha looked away. I didn't sign up for this. I know. A pause. Then she muttered. Why is he like that? Min Jae tilted his head. Like what? Like he doesn't feel things until it's in a board report. Min Jae laughed softly. That's actually accurate. Tasha groaned. I'm going to quit. You won't. She looked at him sharply. Why are you so sure? Min Jae shrugged. Because you're already involved. That made her go quiet. Down the hallway behind them, a figure stood watching briefly through glass walls. Then turned away. Jun Seo. Expression unreadable. But his hand tightened slightly around his phone. Because now the situation wasn't just business. And Tasha walking away didn't feel like refusal anymore. It felt like a complication. One he hadn't planned for. And didn't fully understand yet. If you are new here, welcome to Afro-Korean Stories by MOJ. Subscribe, like, and drop a comment telling me where you are watching from and the time. Let us connect before we get into today's chaos. And if you watched part 1, you already know what is coming. Now, let us get back to the story. The first thing Tasha Collins broke at KJ Global was not her dignity. That had already been gone since the voice note incident. No. The first thing she broke was an original limited edition ceramic sculpture worth approximately 40 million Korean won, which had been sitting on the display shelf in the executive corridor for 11 years without incident, surviving 3 CEOs, 2 renovations, and 1 minor earthquake. It did not survive Tasha. To be completely fair, the sculpture had no business being positioned directly beside the corridor light switch. And Tasha had no business reaching for the switch, while simultaneously gesturing dramatically to Soo-yeon about a design concept she had been explaining for the past 4 minutes. But here they were. The crash was spectacular. 40 million won of artistic heritage hit the marble floor in 4 distinct pieces, and the sound echoed down the executive corridor like a gunshot announcing its own trial. Every single employee within hearing distance went completely still. Tasha stared at the pieces on the floor, then slowly looked up. Then slowly looked at Soo-yeon, who had gone the particular shade of pale that people only achieved when they were calculating how quickly they could resign. How much? Tasha whispered. Soo-yeon's mouth opened.
Closed.
Opened again. It was a gift, she whispered back, from a Japanese ambassador. Tasha closed her eyes.
So.
Diplomatic incident. Tasha. Tell me it was ugly at least. It was considered priceless. That is not helpful, Soo-yeon. Before either of them could form an escape plan, footsteps came down the corridor. Sharp, even, purposeful footsteps. The kind that had never once hurried in their life, because the world reorganized itself to wait. Kang Jun-seo turned the corner.
He stopped.
His eyes moved from the shattered pieces on the floor to Tasha standing beside them, to her expression, which was currently doing several emotional calculations at once. Then he looked at her. She looked back. So, Tasha said carefully, I want you to know this was technically architectural negligence. Jun Seo said nothing. The sculpture was too close to the switch. Still nothing. Which is a workplace safety hazard, actually. I was protecting the employees. His expression remained perfectly, professionally neutral, which, she had learned over the past 3 weeks, was somehow more terrifying than anger. 2 executives who had been walking behind him both stopped and stared at the wreckage with the expressions of men watching a building collapse in slow motion. Tasha straightened her spine. I will pay for it. You cannot, Jun Seo said. I will do it in installments. It would take 17 years at your current salary. 19, One of the executives muttered under his breath, doing the mental math involuntarily. Tasha pointed at him. Nobody asked you. The man immediately looked at the floor. Jun Seo crouched slowly, picked up one of the pieces, and examined it with the quiet focus of a man who had genuinely seen everything. Then he stood back up. He looked at her. 3 weeks, he said. Tasha blinked. What? 3 weeks. He turned and continued walking. You have been here 3 weeks. I know how long I've been here. The building has survived 40 years, he said, without looking back. You have broken an artifact, restructured 2 filing systems nobody asked you to restructure, and convinced the 4th floor receptionist to rearrange the lobby plants for better energy flow. The energy was terrible in there, Tasha said, following him automatically. Have Jiun log the sculpture cost against project expenses. Tasha stopped walking.
Wait.
Are you serious? He did not look back. Yes. You are writing off a 40 million won sculpture because I broke it? The light switch placement was a hazard. Tasha stood very still in the middle of the corridor. Behind her, Soo-yeon exhaled like she had been holding her breath since birth. One of the executives whispered something to the other. The other one whispered back. Both of them watched Jun Seo disappear around the corner. Then both of them looked at Tasha with a specific expression of people who had just witnessed something they needed to discuss privately and immediately. Tasha turned back toward her desk and quietly, to herself, said, "That is the most unhinged thing a man has ever done for me." Soo-yeon followed her, still slightly pale. He has never written off a personal incident for any employee, she said. I am aware. Not once. Soo-yeon. In 11 years. I understand. The ambassador is going to call. Please stop talking. Soo-yeon stopped talking. But the look on her face said everything her mouth was no longer allowed to say. Tasha sat down at her desk. And there, as always, was a fresh oat milk latte. Waiting. She stared at it for a long moment, then picked it up,
Took a sip,
and muttered quietly into the cup. I hate that I understand him. It had started with a coffee. Well, technically, it had started with the voice note 3 weeks ago, but Tasha preferred not to trace things that far back because the psychological implications were excessive. For day-to-day purposes, it had started with the coffee. By her 2nd week, she had walked into the building one morning to find an oat milk latte on her desk before she had even reached the 4th floor. No note. No explanation. Just coffee at the exact temperature she liked, in the exact cup size she always ordered, with the exact amount of foam she had mentioned exactly once in a passing comment to Jiun while waiting for an elevator. She had pulled Jiun aside immediately. Did you get this coffee? Jiun had looked at the cup, then at Tasha, then at the middle distance, in that specific order. I prepared it, yes. On whose instruction? A pause. The standing order covers your preferred specifications. Tasha had blinked. There is a standing order. Yes. For my coffee. Yes. From the CEO. Jiun had smiled very carefully. I enjoy being employed. Which was not an answer, and also completely an answer. Tasha had not brought it up with Jun Seo directly. Partly because she did not know how to start that conversation without it becoming something neither of them was prepared to categorize. Partly because she had spent 3 weeks watching him from a careful, professional distance and had begun to understand something unsettling. Kang Jun Seo, terror of the Seoul business community, living nightmare of the financial press, man so closed off that his employees communicated with him primarily through prepared documents and nervous bowing, paid attention the way other people breathed.
constantly.
Without seeming to. He had remembered the oat milk from a single offhand comment. He had noticed when she moved her desk 15 centimeters closer to the window for better natural light and quietly had the building maintenance team adjust the blinds on that side of the floor. He had read every single one of her design submissions for the youth campaign, not with the detached nod of a CEO approving work beneath his direct concern, but with the specific focus of someone who was genuinely interested. She knew this because he had sent her 3 written notes through Jiun, each one containing feedback that was precise, considered, and slightly more personal than professional. The last one had said simply, *, the color choices in slide 7 remind me of something.
Keep it, asterisk.
She had stared at that note for 4 minutes.
Keep it.
Not approved. Not proceed. Not any of the corporate language a man like him was architecturally built to use.
Keep it.
Like it mattered to him that she specifically kept it. She had written back through Jiyoon. Tell him to speak like a human being. Jiyoon had delivered the message with the expression of someone disarming a live wire. 20 minutes later, Jiyoon had returned with a note that said, Asterisk, the colors in slide 7 are excellent. Please retain them, asterisk. Tasha had laughed for approximately 3 minutes.
Progress.
Terrifying, infuriating, completely fascinating progress. It was Min Jae who finally addressed the elephant in the room.
He always was.
He had appeared at her desk on a Wednesday afternoon with the energy of a man who had been waiting for the right moment and had decided unilaterally that this was it, settling into the chair across from her like he lived there. You have been here 3 weeks, he said. I know. He is different. Min Jae. I have known Kang Jun-seo for 9 years, he said, leaning forward. He once ended a friendship over someone being 12 minutes late to a dinner. Tasha looked up from her sketches. 12 minutes. 12. Min Jae confirmed seriously. He said it demonstrated a fundamental misalignment of values. That is the most dramatic thing I have ever heard. He has not reorganized his schedule for any person since he became CEO, Min Jae continued. He does not rearrange his morning for anyone. He does not, he pointed at the oat milk latte on her desk, maintain standing coffee orders for any employee. Tasha put her pencil down. Min Jae looked at her with the expression of a man completing an important academic argument. You are making him human, he said. It is alarming for those of us who have been managing his robotic behavior for nearly a decade. I am not doing anything, Tasha said. I am simply existing. You are existing loudly, Min Jae replied. For him, that is the equivalent of someone setting off fireworks in a monastery. He doesn't know what to do with you, so he keeps doing things that make no logical sense, like writing off 40 million won sculptures. You heard about that already? Tasha.
He spread his hands.
The executives who saw it have been texting each other about it since this morning. One of them is drafting a personal diary entry. She pressed her fingers to her forehead. He is embarrassing himself, Min Jae said cheerfully. This is the best thing that has happened to this company in years. You are not helping. I am absolutely helping, he said. I am providing commentary. Commentary is support. She pointed at the door. Leave my desk. One more thing, he said, not leaving her desk. He has meetings blocked on his calendar that he has never blocked before. What kind of meetings? They are labeled project review. But Jiyoon told me, in the strictest confidence, that they align perfectly with your campaign presentation schedule. Tasha stared at him. Min Jae smiled with the peaceful energy of a man who had waited years for exactly this moment. He is making time, he said simply. For the first time I can remember, Kang Jun-seo is choosing to make time. He stood up, straightened his jacket, and walked away from her desk with the satisfied stride of a man whose job was complete. Tasha looked at the oat milk latte, then at her design sketches, then at the empty corridor in the direction of Jun-seo's office. I hate this, she said quietly. She absolutely did not hate this. The number question came up on a Thursday because of course it did. Amara had visited for lunch, which had been a mistake from the beginning because Amara treated KJ Global's lobby like a personal museum, examining everything with the eyes of a woman who had watched too many heist films and was making calculations. This building is insane, Amara said, looking at the ceiling. Your CEO is actually insane. Amara, keep your voice down. Nobody can hear me. 3 people can definitely hear you. Amara waved her hand dismissively and sat down across from Tasha in the rooftop cafeteria with the confidence of someone who had been personally invited. She had not been personally invited. She had texted, I'm coming for lunch, and Tasha had said please don't, and here she was. They were halfway through lunch when Amara looked up suddenly. Wait, she said. Tasha recognized that tone. It was the tone of a woman who had been thinking about something for 3 weeks and had just reached a conclusion. Wait, Amara said again louder.
No.
How did he have your number? Tasha put her fork down. That is. He sent you a voice note. Amara pointed with her chopsticks. A voice note requires a phone number. How did Kang Jun-seo have your specific phone number? It was in my. If you say freelance application, I am going to lose my mind. It was in my freelance application, Tasha said. I submitted my contact details. His assistant forwarded shortlisted candidates to him. He was tired and apparently has the phone habits of someone who has never had to manage their own contacts before, and he clicked the wrong.
She stopped.
Because Junseo had appeared at the cafeteria entrance and had clearly heard at least the last 4 words. He walked toward the food counter without acknowledging this. Amara's head turned 180 degrees toward him with the slow precision of a security camera. Then she turned back to Tasha. That is him, she whispered, with enormous intensity. Please behave. He is taller in person, Amara. His voice does sound tall. I will end our friendship. You quoted your own line back to yourself, Amara said, delighted. You are in trouble. Junseo collected his food and walked toward the executive section of the cafeteria. Then, with the calm decisiveness of a man who had made up his mind about something without broadcasting the decision, he changed direction and sat down 2 tables away from them. Not at the executive section. Not at his usual corner table by the window where his assistant brought documents to him while he ate, which was its own form of personality disorder. 2 tables away. Amara made a sound that was not quite a word. Tasha looked at her plate. Junseo opened a document and began reading. He did not look at them. He did not acknowledge them. He simply ate, 2 tables away, in a company cafeteria he had reportedly not used for regular lunch in approximately 18 months, in a chair that was, Tasha noted with the precision of a woman who had cataloged these things against her will, perfectly positioned to see her desk from the corner of his peripheral vision. Tasha, Amara said, in a very specific tone. Don't, Tasha. I said don't. He rearranged himself for proximity, Amara whispered. He sat in the general population of the cafeteria. For you. He is having lunch. He is having lunch strategically. Tasha picked up her fork again. Amara leaned forward. So your entire life changed, she said slowly, because he clicked the wrong freelancer. Silence. Then, from 2 tables away, without looking up from his document. Yes. Amara's eyes went wide. Then she turned slowly toward Tasha with the expression of a woman whose entire theory had just been confirmed by the subject of the theory himself. Tasha closed her eyes. That is the most billionaire thing I have ever heard in my life, Amara said, loudly enough to count as an announcement. From 2 tables away, the faintest exhale. Almost a laugh. Almost. I hate you both, Tasha said. The youth campaign presentation was the first time Tasha genuinely understood what working for Kang Junseo actually meant. She had prepared for it seriously, more seriously than she had prepared for anything since the freelance application itself, because 3 weeks of watching these creative meetings had taught her something important. The team had ideas. Good ideas. Ideas that were being systematically diluted into safe, palatable corporate shapes by people who were afraid of the CEO's response. So she walked into the presentation room with her full designs, her full reasoning, and the specific energy of a woman who had already been part of a corporate scandal and had therefore burned through her capacity for institutional fear. She presented the campaign. The team loved it immediately. The senior marketing director loved it with visible reservations that he expressed as questions, which Tasha answered, and then with different questions, which she also answered, and then with a concern that was actually just the first reservation reworded, which she addressed without blinking. The room was going well. Then Director Park spoke. Director Park was the kind of man who wore his seniority like a weather system. He entered rooms, and things became heavier. He had been at KJ Global for 7 years, which, based on the deference people paid him, might as well have been 7 centuries. He looked at Tasha's color palette and said, in the tone of a man making a permanent ruling, "This is not aligned with our brand identity." Tasha looked at the color palette, then at Director Park. Respectfully, she said, your brand identity currently reads like a bank that doesn't believe in joy. The room went airless. Director Park blinked. Tasha continued, your target demographic for this campaign is 18 to 25-year-olds. People in that age group make purchase decisions based on emotional resonance, not corporate restraint. If your brand looks like a quarterly earnings report, they will scroll past it in 0.3 seconds. The colors I've chosen are energetic, culturally relevant, and still within a sophisticated palette. This isn't chaos. This is strategy. Silence. Director Park looked at the designs again. then at Tasha, then at the designs. The door opened quietly. Jun Seo entered the room and sat in the corner chair without ceremony or explanation, opening his tablet. Everyone noticed. Nobody said anything. Tasha registered his presence with a fraction of her attention and continued. The campaign isn't changing KJ Global's core identity, she said. It's introducing a version of the brand that younger consumers can actually feel something about. That is the entire point of a youth campaign. Director Park said, slowly and carefully, "Our previous campaigns have been successful. They have been fine," Tasha said, with the gentle precision of a woman who had been hired to tell the truth. "There is a difference." The room held its breath collectively. Tasha looked around at the team. "I'm not here to redo what's working. I'm here to do what's next. Those are two different jobs, and I was hired for the second one." The silence lasted approximately 4 seconds. Then the head of the youth division, a woman named Nari who had spent the last 6 months having her best ideas diplomatically neutralized, said quietly but firmly, "I agree with her." Another team member nodded. Then another. Director Park looked at Jun Seo. Jun Seo looked up from his tablet, then said 2 words. "Continue, Tasha." Director Park's expression did several things in quick succession and then settled into neutral. The presentation continued. Afterward, walking back down the corridor, Jun Seo fell into step beside her without announcement. "You handled that well," he said. "I handled it correctly," she replied. "There's a difference." He glanced at her sideways. "Director Park has been with this company 7 years. I know. He has considerable influence with the board. I know that too." A pause. "You are not concerned." Tasha shrugged. He was wrong. Being wrong doesn't become right because of how long someone has been in the building. Another pause. Then, he is not wrong often. Then this is good for his character development. The almost laugh happened. She felt it more than heard it, a subtle shift in the atmosphere beside her, like something exhaled. "You are going to cause significant structural disruption to this company," he said. "That is not a complaint," she said. "That's a prediction." He did not correct her. And that, she was learning, was how Jun Seo agreed with things. The jealousy situation, though nobody was calling it that, least of all Tasha, and absolutely not out loud, began with a man named Daniel Cho. Daniel Cho was the lead on a digital partnership team from an external agency that KJ Global had brought in for a collaborative portion of the campaign. He was 32, charming in the effortless way of someone who had never had to think about it, and he had very quickly identified Tasha as the most interesting person in any room she entered. This was not particularly surprising to anyone who had spent more than 40 minutes with Tasha. What was interesting was that Daniel acted on this observation. He had started by stopping at her desk to ask questions about the campaign direction, which was professional and reasonable. Then he had started bringing coffee, which was friendly and mildly suspicious. Then one Tuesday afternoon, he had looked at a set of her sketches and said, "These are genuinely brilliant. Can I take you to dinner to talk through the direction further? I know a great place in Itaewon." Tasha had opened her mouth to answer. "The project has a dedicated review schedule." Both Tasha and Daniel turned. Jun Seo was standing in the open corridor 3 meters away with a tablet under his arm and the specific expression of a man who had been passing by and had stopped for reasons he had not yet categorized. Daniel straightened immediately with the professional reflex of someone who had just realized where he was and who was speaking. "Yes, of course, sir. I just thought an informal. Jiun will add you to the next scheduled review." Jun Seo looked at Daniel with a calm, total attention of a man who had access to an entire legal team. "Was there something specific about the project direction that required immediate discussion?" Daniel said, "No, sir." "Good." Jun Seo continued walking. Daniel looked at Tasha. Tasha looked at the ceiling. "I will be in the scheduled review," she said pleasantly. Daniel nodded and retreated with the quiet dignity of a man accepting defeat. Tasha waited until the corridor was clear. Then she followed Jun Seo. She found him at his office doorway, already looking at his tablet again, with the focused neutrality of a man who had simply handled a professional scheduling matter and had absolutely no other motivations. "You did not have to do that," she said. He looked up. "The project reviews are completely sufficient," she finished. "I know. That is not what I meant." He held her gaze for a moment. He was disrupting your workspace, he said. He was asking me to dinner. Silence. To discuss the project, Juncio said. Sir. Tasha tilted her head slightly. Be serious. Something flickered across his expression.
Quickly. Gone almost before she registered it.
But she had gotten very good at noticing the quick things. Your work is important to the campaign, he said. Distractions are counterproductive. That sounded emotional, she said. Just so you know. He returned to his tablet. It was operational. It was possessive, she said casually and immediately walked away before he could respond. Behind her, the silence stretched out for just a fraction longer than it should have. She counted that as a win. Min-jae found her 20 minutes later in the break room, already laughing. I heard, he said. I know you heard. The executive corridor has an information network that would embarrass most intelligence agencies, he confirmed. Tell me everything. She told him everything. He listened with the focused joy of a man receiving exactly the news he had been waiting for. He intercepted. Min-jae said slowly when she finished. He intercepted. Without asking. Without a word of acknowledgement that he was doing it. Min-jae sat back in his chair. 9 years, he said. In 9 years, I have never seen Kang Juncio involve himself in someone's personal space without a documented reason and at least 2 business rationales. He said it was counterproductive. He said it because he could not say what he actually meant, Min-jae said, with the certainty of a man who had been reading Juncio for nearly a decade. He does not know what he actually means, Tasha said. No, Min-jae agreed. But you do. She was quiet for a moment. Min-jae. Yes. What happened to him? She asked quietly. I mean actually, not the CEO myth. The person. Min-jae was quiet for a moment, which was unusual enough to get her full attention. His father was the previous CEO, he said. He spent his entire childhood inside this company's expectations. Every decision, every relationship, every personal choice, evaluated for how it affected the company's image or his family's standing. He paused. He became CEO at 30 after his father stepped down due to illness. He was not given the time to be 31st. Tasha listened without speaking, which was also unusual enough to mean something. He has never had a relationship that was not eventually complicated by who he is in this building, Min-jae said. He stopped trying some time ago. Not dramatically, just quietly. The way you stop reaching for something after you have been told enough times that it is not for you. The break room was very quiet. Then Min-jae looked at her, and his usual humor was gone. Just for a moment.
He is not cold, Tasha.
He is careful. There is a significant difference. He is the most careful person I have ever met with things that actually matter to him.
She absorbed that.
Then, how do you know I matter to him? Min-jae gave her the look of a man who had watched a person wake up very slowly. Because, he said simply, he has never once written off a 40 million won sculpture for anyone in the history of this building. He stood up, collected his coffee, and left. Tasha sat in the break room for a while longer, thinking about careful people, and the exhausting, beautiful, complicated work of being one of the things they finally decided to be careful with. She found him working late. She had not planned this. She had stayed because a deadline was close and her design revisions needed finishing, and by 8 in the evening most of the floor had emptied, and she was deep enough in work that she had lost track of time entirely until she went to the coffee machine and saw the light still on under the crack of his office door. She knocked. Come in. She opened the door. He was at his desk, jacket off, sleeves rolled to the elbows, 3 monitors open, looking like a man who had been at work since 5 in the morning and had not yet registered that a significant portion of the day had finished without him. He looked up. Something shifted slightly in his expression when he saw it was her. Not the professional reset. Just quiet recognition. You're still here, he said. So are you, she replied. I am getting a coffee. Do you want anything? He paused for a fraction of a second, like the question had caught him slightly off balance. Water, he said. Please. She registered the please because he added it now sometimes, unpredictably, like it was a new setting he was still learning to engage. She came back with water for him and her coffee for herself and sat in the chair across from his desk without asking, because they were past asking by now, and he did not comment. The office was quiet in a way that was different from the daytime quiet. less controlled, more natural. Are you sleeping? She asked. He looked up from the screen briefly.
What? Sleeping.
Regularly. Are you doing it? Yes. That was too fast. I sleep. You are here at 8 p.m. after arriving before 6 a.m., and you have not eaten since the cafeteria at 1, because June told me she had to remind you twice. He was quiet for a moment. She reports to you now? He asked. She worries, Tasha said. She just expresses it by telling me things. Something in his expression shifted slightly. Not quite a smile. Something quieter. She's been my assistant for 4 years, he said. She cares about you, Tasha said simply. More than you probably notice. He looked at the screen. I notice, he said quietly. She watched him for a moment. Can I ask you something? You ask things without asking. I am asking this time. He looked up. Why do you still do it like this? She said. You have entire company. You have people whose entire job is to carry the weight of decisions. You could delegate most of this. You could go home. Why is it always you alone at 8 p.m.? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, if I do not do it, I cannot guarantee it is done correctly. That is not the real answer. He glanced at her. What is the real answer? He said. Not a question exactly. More like testing whether she would actually say it. The real answer, she said carefully, is that you do not fully trust anyone else with this because at some point you learn that the cost of trusting the wrong person is everything. And it is easier to carry it yourself than to hand it to someone and watch them put it down. The room was very quiet. He did not respond immediately. And she had learned that his silence, at this particular length, was its own form of confirmation. That is a difficult way to live, she said softly. It is effective, he said. Is it? Another silence. He looked at the window, at the city outside, at the lights that made Seoul look like a circuit board from up here, brilliant and interconnected and completely indifferent. When I was 28, he said, I trusted someone with a critical acquisition decision. Someone I considered a friend. She waited. He made a decision that benefited himself and told the board it was my recommendation. Tasha said nothing. My father was still CEO. He managed the consequences. But not before the board spent 3 months questioning whether I had the judgment for the succession. He paused. I learned something from that. What? He looked back at her. That the cost of trust, when it is misplaced, is always paid publicly. She held his gaze. That is a terrible lesson, she said. It is an accurate one. Those are sometimes the same thing. He exhaled. Not a laugh, but something with warmth in it. Tasha leaned forward slightly on the desk. For what it's worth, she said, you trusted me with a voice note, and I haven't destroyed anything with it. Except the sculpture, but that was architectural. That broke it. The almost laugh happened, and this time it was fuller, more surprised, and real enough that he looked briefly like a completely different person. Younger, less constructed, something that had been there before the board meetings and the acquisitions, and the cost of trusting wrong. He shook his head slightly. You are impossible, he said. But there was nothing in the tone that meant impossible in a bad way. I know, she said cheerfully, but I make good company at 8 p.m. He looked at her, and this time the look lasted longer than usual. Longer and quieter, with something in it that she did not immediately have a word for, except that it felt like attention at a level she was not entirely used to receiving. Yes, he said simply. You do. She looked at her coffee cup and decided very firmly not to analyze the temperature of that sentence. She was not always successful. The phone call arrived on a Friday morning. Not from the board. Not from PR. Not from any of the usual sources of institutional chaos. From Jun Seo's personal phone, placed face up on his desk, which vibrated with a contact name Tasha happened to see as she walked past to review a printout on his side table. Iyama. She had enough time to register this and step a precise distance back before he saw her looking. He looked at the phone, then at her, then at the phone. You are going to enjoy this, he said flatly. I am just standing here, she said. He answered. His mother's voice filled the room before the phone had reached his ear. Are you coming home for Sunday dinner? Tasha covered her mouth. Jun Seo held the phone approximately 7 centimeters from his ear. Mother. I have been calling you for 3 days. I saw. Then you know I was calling. Yes. And you did not call back. I was in meetings. You are always in meetings. A pause. Is she there? Silence. Mother. The girl. The one who made you laugh. Is she there? Juncio looked directly at Tasha with the expression of a man experiencing a very specific kind of suffering. Tasha pointed at herself with wide eyes. He closed his eyes briefly. She is working nearby, he said. His mother made a sound that communicated approximately 17 emotions simultaneously. Put her on.
No.
Juncio. No. Why are you like this? I am professional. You are impossible. Put the girl on. Tasha mouthed. Should I go? He looked at her, then held the phone out. Tasha stared at it. Absolutely not, she said. She will call Jiun. She can call Jiun. Jiun will give her your direct number. Tasha stared at him. You're going to use Jiun against me. I am predicting Jiun's behavior accurately. From the phone, his mother's voice. I can hear you both. Tasha took the phone. Hello, Mrs. Kong. Hello, his mother said, with the energy of a woman who had been waiting for this specific moment for weeks. You are the designer? Yes, ma'am. The one who made my son laugh? Tasha looked at Juncio. He was looking at the wall. We have had some conversations, she said diplomatically. He never laughs, his mother said. Not really. Not since. A brief pause. For a long time. You made him laugh. The way she said it made something in Tasha's chest do a quiet, unexpected thing. He is more human than people think, Tasha said. Silence. Then his mother said, warmly and immediately, I like you already. Come to dinner Sunday. Oh, I couldn't. Come to dinner Sunday, his mother repeated, in exactly the same tone, which somehow contained significantly more authority the second time. Tasha looked at Juncio. He had turned from the wall and was watching her with the expression of a man who had accepted his fate. Mrs. Kong. His father wants to meet you too. His father? Tasha straightened. His father will be there? Of course. It is family dinner. And the CEO is fine with. He does not get a vote, his mother said pleasantly. He is my son. He gets a seat. You get an invitation. Sunday. 7 o'clock. I will send the address to this number. The call ended. Tasha slowly lowered the phone. Juncio held out his hand for it. She gave it back. Your mother, she said carefully, just invited me to meet your parents. Yes. Without asking you. She rarely asks. And you are not stopping this. He looked at her with the particular patience of a man who had tried to control his mother's social decisions for 35 years and had developed a philosophy about it. She will not be stopped, he said simply. You could try. I have tried, he said, for 35 years. Tasha looked at him, then looked at the phone in his hand, then back at him. This is terrifying, she said. Yes, he agreed. Your mother is going to embarrass you. Inevitably. She is going to tell me things about you. Almost certainly. And you are still not stopping it. He looked at her for a moment, then said quietly, No. That sentence was smaller than it should have been and heavier than it appeared, and Tasha felt it land somewhere slightly below her sternum, which was not convenient. Sunday, she said. Sunday, he confirmed. She walked toward the door, then stopped. Should I bring something? He blinked. To dinner? Is that a strange question? People usually, he paused. No one usually asks that. She turned. What do you mean? Guests at those dinners usually bring deliberate things, he said. Designed to impress. Expensive wine. Branded items. He paused again. Nobody ever asks what would actually be useful. She looked at him. What would actually be useful? He thought for a moment. She likes flowers, he said. Specifically freesias. She has mentioned it. He said it like it was just information. But it was not just information, and they both knew it. Tasha nodded. Freesias, she said. Yes. Got it. She left. Juncio looked at the door for a moment longer than was strictly warranted, then returned to his work. Though his focus, June noted from her desk outside, took approximately 12 minutes to fully return, which was a record of its own kind. Sunday came with the specific anxiety of someone walking into a dinner that was labeled casual, but was structurally an evaluation. Amara had spent the entire Saturday preparing Tasha for this, which involved approximately 4 hours of outfit decisions, 2 hours of debating what questions a mother would ask, and 45 minutes of Amara doing an impression of a wealthy Korean mother that was offensive, inaccurate, and extremely funny. By Sunday evening, Tasha was dressed in something that balanced professional with real, holding a small bundle of freesias wrapped in brown paper, standing outside an address in one of Seoul's quieter, older residential neighborhoods where the houses had gardens and the streetlights were the warm gold of somewhere that had not been renovated to impress anyone. She rang the bell. The door opened in 3 seconds, which suggested someone had been watching. Kang Soo-jin, Jun Seo's mother, was a small woman with very bright eyes and the particular authority of a person who had spent decades being underestimated and had found it efficient. She looked at Tasha. She looked at the freesias. Her entire expression transformed. "He told you," she said, like this was the most significant thing that had happened in recent memory. "He mentioned you liked them," Tasha said. Soo-jin took the flowers and looked at her son, who had appeared in the hallway behind her with the exact expression of a man waiting for sentencing. "She brought freesias," his mother said to him, as though this were a fact requiring his acknowledgement. "I can see that," Jun Seo said. "You told her I like freesias." He adjusted his cuff. It was relevant information. His mother looked between them with the open, satisfied expression of a woman whose theory had just been validated by evidence. Come in," she said to Tasha warmly, pulling her inside. "Come meet his father. Do not be nervous. His father is much nicer than he is." "I am standing here," Jun Seo said. "Yes," his mother agreed. "Go get more chairs." Tasha pressed her lips together. He looked at her over his mother's shoulder. She gave him a look that said, "I tried to warn you." He gave her a look that said, "I know, I accepted this." The exchange lasted approximately 2 seconds and communicated more than most people managed in conversations. His mother, who missed absolutely nothing, watched it happen and smiled to herself with the quiet triumph of a woman who had been waiting a very long time. Kang Dae-won, Jun Seo's father, was retired now, which he wore with the slightly uncertain energy of someone who had been powerful for a long time and was still learning to exist without the machinery of that power. He was warm in the way Jun Seo was not yet warm. Openly, immediately, without the infrastructure of control around it, and Tasha liked him within approximately 4 minutes. "My son tells me you are a designer," he said. "Yes, sir. He says your work is strong." Tasha blinked. She looked at Jun Seo, who was looking at his water glass. "He said that?" she asked. "He did not say it to you," his father said. "He said it was effective," she replied. His father looked at Jun Seo. "Strong," he said clearly to his son. "I said strong." "You said effective to her," Tasha said, delighted. "Effective is precise," Jun Seo said. "Strong is also precise," his father said mildly. "And more personal," his mother added from the kitchen, at a volume that indicated she had been listening to the entire conversation while ostensibly cooking. Jun Seo looked at the table. Tasha was having the best evening she had experienced in a long time. Dinner was the kind of meal that required everyone to be fully present, and honestly, she had not realized how much she had missed that. Real food, real conversation, a table where people argued affectionately about small things, where Jun Seo's father told a story about his first business meeting that involved a translation error and a significant misunderstanding about pig farming, which made his mother laugh so hard she put her fork down, which made Tasha realize that laughter was inherited, because the quality of it was exactly the same. Jun Seo sat across from her at the table and she noticed something that she had not had the space or angle to see clearly before. Here, in this house, in this family, he was quieter in a different way. Not closed. Not controlled, just present in a mode that she had not seen at the office. Listening to his father, with something that looked like it had always been there, underneath the CEO machinery, the kind of listening that people did when they were with someone who mattered deeply and didn't have to perform. He caught her looking. She did not look away. Neither did he. His mother, who apparently had the peripheral vision of a woman who had been managing interpersonal dynamics professionally for 30 years, said from across the table, "Tasha, tell me. Does he eat properly at the office?" Tasha kept her face neutral. "He manages." "That means no," his mother said immediately. "I eat," Jun Seo said. Jiyoon tells me he forgets lunch twice a week, his mother said to Tasha. She texts me. Jun Seo looked at Tasha. Jiyoon texts my mother. Jiyoon cares about you, Tasha said. Jiyoon has been reporting to my mother. Jiyoon is doing both, his mother said serenely. Jun Seo, get more water for Tasha. He got up without commenting. His mother watched him go, then turned to Tasha with the efficiency of a woman who had timed exactly this window. He has not brought anyone home in a very long time, she said quietly. I know this is not. Tasha started. I know what it is, and what it isn't, his mother said gently. I am not foolish, but I watch my son, and I know what his face looks like when he is interested in something real. She paused. He is very bad at showing it. He has been trained his entire life to keep things inside. I am sorry for that. His father and I tried, but this company. She looked briefly at the doorway through which her son had disappeared. It asks a great deal of him. Tasha was very still. He is a good man, his mother said. He is just a good man who has forgotten that he is allowed to want things that are not productive. Jun Seo returned with water. He looked between them with the instinct of a man who knew he had missed something important. What? He said. Nothing. Both women said, simultaneously. He sat down slowly, looked at Tasha, looked at his mother. That is never nothing, he said. Correct, his mother agreed. But you do not need to know what it is. His father laughed. Jun Seo looked at the ceiling briefly, with the expression of a man who had been outnumbered at his own family table and had decided to accept it with dignity. Tasha sipped her water and said nothing. But she kept thinking about he is allowed to want things that are not productive. And she thought about it for a long time. After dinner, his father had retreated to the sitting room with tea, and his mother had vanished into the kitchen with the determined energy of someone who intended to produce dessert and also have a private conversation with her husband about what they had both witnessed at the dinner table. Jun Seo walked Tasha toward the front of the house, where the garden was visible through the glass door, lit softly against the evening. They stood there for a moment, not talking immediately, just existing in the particular quiet of a house that had held people for a long time. She likes you, Jun Seo said. I like her, Tasha replied. She is interfering. She is caring, Tasha corrected. He looked at the garden. She showed you the photos, didn't she? He said. Tasha pressed her lips together. I have no idea what you are talking about. The ones from when I was 12. The haircut was a choice. It was my mother's choice. You had a bowl cut, Jun Seo. It was the 90s. It was a committed decision regardless of the decade. He exhaled. She smiled. Then the smile softened into something quieter. Thank you for tonight, she said. He looked at her. You came, he said. I should be thanking you. You invited me through your mother's will, which technically means she invited me. I did not stop it, he said. You established that. I mean, he paused, which was unusual, because Jun Seo very rarely paused mid-sentence. He generally had everything he intended to say fully formed before he began. I mean that I did not stop it, because I did not want to. The garden was very quiet. Somewhere in the house, his parents murmured. Tasha looked at him. He was looking at the garden, not at her, in that way he had of delivering significant sentences toward the middle distance because direct delivery was still a work in progress. I did not want to because, he stopped again. She waited, not impatiently, just waiting. Having you at this table, he said more quietly, felt like something I had forgotten was possible. That landed in the silence between them and stayed. Tasha did not make a joke. She did not deflect it or analyze it or turn it into banter. She just received it, because some things deserved to be received exactly as they were given. Jun Seo, she said softly. He looked at her. For someone who says words like a quarterly report, she said, that was really something. Something shifted in his expression. Something that had been very carefully managed and very precisely contained for a very long time. Don't push it, he said. But his voice was different. Softer. Real. She smiled. No promises. He looked at her, and the look was the longest and the most unguarded she had received from him, in the soft light of his parents' hallway, without the building and the board and the corporation between them, just two people in a quiet house standing close enough that neither of them had to project to be heard. His mother appeared at the end of the hallway with dessert plates and the expression of a woman who had walked in on exactly what she had hoped to walk in on. "Ah," she said, with perfect satisfaction. "Good." Juncio closed his eyes briefly. Tasha turned around. "That was impeccably timed," she said. "I have very good instincts," his mother agreed, coming forward with the dessert. "Sit down, both of you. This is the best part of the evening." She herded them back toward the table with the calm authority of a woman managing the most important project of the year. Juncio followed his mother, but as he passed Tasha, he said, quietly and for her alone, "She does this deliberately." "I know," Tasha whispered back. "She has done it my entire life." "I know that too. It is deeply annoying." "You love her," Tasha said simply. He looked straight ahead. "Yes," he said, and then barely. "I do." The walk back to her side of the city was longer than usual because she chose it to be. Seoul at night was different from Seoul in the day. Less driven, more honest. Lights reflected in the Han River like the city was contemplating itself. She thought about what Min-jae had said, about the cost of trusting wrong, paid publicly. She thought about what his mother had said, about being allowed to want things that weren't productive. She thought about the garden and the quiet and the sentence that had no corporate language in it, just a man who had spent a very long time inside carefully constructed walls telling her, in the way he was capable of, that she had begun to feel like something worth building a door for. She thought about all of this for a very long time. And when she arrived at her apartment and her sewing machine glared at her from the corner in its usual demonic way, she sat down on the couch in her good outfit and looked at the ceiling and said, quietly and honestly to nobody in particular, "I am in significant trouble." Her phone buzzed. A text from an unsaved number that she had saved approximately 1 week in and then immediately unsaved because saving it made the situation too real. "You left your jacket." She stared at the message, then typed back, "Asterisk I know. It was tactical, asterisk. 3 dots. Then, tactical how?" She smiled at the ceiling. "Now I have a reason to come back. 3 dots. A very long pause. Then, you did not need one." Tasha stared at her phone, then put it face down on the couch, then picked it up again, then stared at it some more. "That man," she said to the ceiling, "is going to be the complete destruction of my very carefully maintained composure." She typed back, "Go to sleep, CEO." He typed back, "It is only 9:40. That is your bedtime. I am not 12. You have a 5 a.m. alarm." A pause. "How do you know that?" "Jiun tells me things." "Jiun tells everyone things. She is a woman of the people." Another pause. Then, "Good night, Tasha." She looked at the words on the screen for a moment. 2 words. Simple. But from Kong Jun-seo, who had once sent a company-wide memo instead of saying good morning to someone he passed in the elevator, 2 words in that particular tone, at that particular time, were not simple at all. She typed back, "Good night." Then added, "Asterisk sleep, actually. I'll know if you don't. Asterisk. 3 dots. Then, you are impossible. Asterisk I know. Good night, robot man. Asterisk." A pause. Then, the last message of the evening. "Do not call me that." She grinned. Never. She put the phone down and looked at her apartment ceiling, at the city light coming through her windows, at the small, ordinary, entirely transformed life she was somehow living. 3 weeks ago, she had been arguing with a sewing machine. Now she was leaving jackets behind as tactical maneuvers and going to family dinners and houses with freesia gardens and having late-night text conversations with a man who sent voice notes to the wrong number and had somehow, in the process, sent it to the exact right person. She thought about what he had said. "Having you at that table felt like something I had forgotten was possible." She thought about the almost smiles she had catalogued. She thought about the oatmeal coffee. She thought about the way he had said her name that first night on the phone, carefully, like he was learning the shape of it. And she thought, very quietly, with the honesty available only at 9:40 on a Sunday evening in an apartment above a city that does not sleep, "I think I know exactly what this is. And I think he does too. And I think neither of us is quite ready to say it yet. But we're getting there." Neither of them was prepared for Monday. On Monday morning, Tasha arrived at KJ Global to find 4 things: Her oat milk latte in its usual place, her design revisions had been approved with a note that said excellent. Not effective, not satisfactory, but excellent. Ji-yoon smiling slightly more than professionally required, and a message forwarded from the board's communications office asking, formally and in the specific language of people with very expensive lawyers, whether Director Park's recent recommendation to remove the freelance designer from the youth campaign on the grounds of creating internal disruption would be reviewed. Director Park. Of course. She read the message twice, then went directly to Jun Seo's office. He was already standing at his window with the expression of a man who had been expecting her and had been deciding, before she arrived, exactly how to handle the next 20 minutes. You saw, he said. I saw, she said. Is he removing me? He is attempting to recommend it. That is a significant difference. Yes. She looked at him. What happens now? He turned from the window. Director Park has submitted a formal concern about professional boundaries and project disruption, he said. It is within his authority to raise concerns. And it is within my authority, he said with the complete certainty of a man who had never once been uncertain about the boundaries of his own authority, to determine the appropriate response. Which is that the designer responsible for our most positively received internal campaign presentation in 4 years is continuing her work. He said it the way he said most important things, quietly, without performance, with the absolute weight of a decision already made. He will push further, she said. He is welcome to push, Jun Seo said. The board reviews campaign performance, not personnel choices made at my discretion. Director Park is aware of this. Tasha looked at him. You are protecting my position, she said. I am maintaining project integrity, he said. Jun Seo. He looked at her. You are protecting me, she said. He held her gaze. The project needs its strongest contributor, he said. She waited. A moment. He exhaled. Yes, he said quietly. I am. She did not smile immediately. She just stood there, in the morning light of his glass office, looking at a man who had spent 35 years building walls so high that people had stopped trying to reach him, admitting in his language, which was quiet and careful and real, that she was worth the protection. Okay, she said. Okay. I trust you, she said simply. And this time the silence that followed was not uncertainty. It was something much more settled. Something that had been carefully, slowly, brick by brick, becoming the architecture of something neither of them had a word for yet. But both of them could feel. Min-jae appeared in the doorway 30 seconds later with his tablet and the specific energy of a man who had been listening from the corridor and was experiencing emotions. I am not interrupting, he announced. You are absolutely interrupting, Jun Seo said. I heard. I trust you from outside, Min-jae said. I want full details. Leave my office. This is significant character development, Min-jae said, pointing at Jun Seo with deep personal investment. I am a witness. I deserve to be here. Leave. For 9 years. Leave. For 9 years I have waited. Min-jae, Tasha said. He looked at her. She smiled. Thank you, she said, for what you told me in the break room. He looked between the two of them. Then, with the expression of a man whose lifelong project was finally yielding results, smiled properly for the first time all morning. You are both welcome, he said, for everything I have done, am doing, and will continue to do. He left. The door closed. Jun Seo looked at it. What did he tell you? He said. Things that mattered, she said. About me? About you, she confirmed. He was quiet for a moment. I suppose I should be concerned. You should be grateful, she said. He looked at her. She looked back. And in the morning light, in the quiet of the office, with the city moving on below them and the campaign on the boards and the board above them, and all the complicated architecture of this life they were both navigating, something passed between them. Not words. Not yet. Not a declaration or a category or a label. Just recognition. The specific, electric recognition of two people who have spent long enough in each other's orbit to understand, past doubt, that the orbit is not accidental. That the wrong number was, in all the ways that mattered, exactly right. Jun Seo turned back toward his desk. The campaign review is at 2, he said. I know, she said. I'll be ready. She walked toward the door. Tasha. She stopped. Your jacket, he said. Jihoon has it. She turned slightly. I know, she said. I told you it was tactical. A pause. Then, quietly, with the particular warmth of a man practicing the vocabulary of something new, it worked. She smiled,
Turned.
walked out, and in the corridor, far enough away that he couldn't quite see, she allowed herself a very small, very private, very real smile. The kind that meant something. The kind that had started with a wrong number and instant noodles and an angry voice note from a man who called himself a CEO but was underneath all of it, just a person. A careful, exhausted, quietly hopeful person who had finally, against all odds and considerable resistance, started to remember that he was allowed to want something that wasn't productive, and who had sent that voice note to exactly the right chaos to remind him. If you made it to the end of the story, drop a comment right now and tell me where you're watching from and the time. I want to know. Like this video, share it with someone who deserves a good story today, and subscribe so you do not miss any story from this channel because things are about to get significantly more complicated. Director Park is not finished, the board is watching, and Jun's CO is running out of ways to describe what Tasha is to him in purely operational terms. Comment your favorite moment and tell me, who broke first? Was it the oat milk, the freesias, or the goodnight text? See you in the next video.